Episode 16, The Devil's Arithmetic. Diego Santos sat in the back of the black Lincoln Continental as Flaco drove north through Manhattan traffic, his jaw clenched so tight his molars ached. His hands rested on his knees, fingers spread flat, because if he allowed them to curl into fists, he might put them through the window. Carmen, his baby sister. In the back of a federal van, being transported like a criminal to some safe house, where they'd fill her head with more lies, more poison against her own blood. Boss? Flaco's voice was careful. Where to? The club, Diego said. His voice came out flat, controlled. Prospect Avenue, and drive faster. Flaco pressed the accelerator. The Lincoln surged forward, weaving through mid-morning traffic. Diego stared out the window without seeing the buildings, the pedestrians, the city sliding past. His mind was already at the social club, already calculating, already planning. They thought they'd won. Those four boys and his sister, sitting in that federal office with their photographs and their testimony, thinking the government would protect them, thinking Diego Santos was finished. They had no idea what they'd started. The drive from Federal Plaza to the Bronx took 40 minutes in traffic. Diego spent every second of it thinking. Not about rage. Rage was useless, made you sloppy. He thought about logistics, about who knew what, about which pieces on the board could still be moved. The federal agents had his face on film. They had his heroin transaction documented. They had Carmen's testimony about packaging drugs in their mother's kitchen. They had enough to arrest him, to build a case, to put him away for 20 years if he was lucky. But they didn't have him. Not yet. No warrant had been served. No charges filed. Agent Carter had let him walk out of that building, and that was a mistake Diego intended to exploit. The Lincoln turned onto Prospect Avenue at 10:47 a.m. Diego's social club occupied the ground floor of a 3-story brick building between a bodega and a shuttered furniture store. The storefront windows were covered with newspaper from the inside. A faded sign above the door read, Prospect Social Club, Members Only, in letters that had once been gold. 2 men stood outside, Hector and Papo, young soldiers who worked the corners. They straightened when they saw the Lincoln, then moved to open the door before Diego reached it. Boss, Hector said, his eyes dropping. Diego walked past them without acknowledgement. The front room was dim, smelling of cigarette smoke and old beer. 4 card tables occupied the space, folding chairs scattered around them. A small bar ran along the left wall, bottles lined up behind it. The back room, his office, lay behind a heavy door with 3 deadbolts. Carlos was already there, standing near the bar with Tito and Rafa. They'd been waiting. Word traveled fast in Diego's organization. They knew something had gone wrong at the warehouse last night. They knew Carmen was gone. They knew Diego had been at a federal building this morning. They knew, but they didn't know everything. Not yet. Everybody out, Diego said, except Carlos, Tito, and Rafa. Flaco, lock the door. Nobody comes in until I say. The room cleared quickly. Hector and Papo disappeared into the street. 2 other men who'd been playing dominoes in the corner grabbed their jackets and left without question. When the door was locked and bolted, only Diego's inner circle remained. Diego walked to the bar and poured himself 3 fingers of Johnny Walker Black. He drank it in one swallow, then poured another. The whiskey burned going down, but it didn't touch the cold fury in his chest. Tell me what you know, he said, turning to face his crew. Carlos spoke first. Miguel never came home last night. His mother's been calling around, worried sick. His little brothers don't know nothing. Marcus Williams? Not home either, Tito said. The stocky enforcer shifted his weight from foot to foot. His mother went to work this morning like normal. She don't know where he is. Tommy Ritchie? Same story, Rafa said. His old man was passed out drunk. Didn't even notice the kid was gone. Raymond Tucker? Carlos shook his head. His grandmother's place was empty when we checked an hour ago. She works at the hospital, day shift. The kid's gone. Diego drank more whiskey. The pattern was clear. 5 teenagers had vanished from the neighborhood overnight. 5 teenagers who'd photographed his drug deal, who'd run to the feds, who were now in protective custody somewhere in the city. And Carmen? He asked, though he knew the answer. Your mother's been crying all morning, Carlos said quietly. She don't understand where Carmen went. She keeps asking if we've seen her. Diego's jaw tightened. His mother. Innocent. Devout Maria Santos, who went to Mass every Sunday and lit candles for her children's souls, who had no idea her daughter had betrayed the family, had destroyed everything Diego had built to protect them. "The warehouse," Diego said. "What happened after I left?" Tito stepped forward. "We searched the whole area, boss. Found nothing. No police showed up, no feds. Whatever warning Carmen gave them, nobody acted on it." "Because it wasn't a warning," Diego said. His voice was cold, analytical. "It was a distraction. While we were focused on the police raid that never came, they were taking photographs, getting evidence." He set his glass down on the bar hard enough that it cracked. Nobody moved. 7 photographs, Diego continued. "I saw them. Clear shots of me, of Vega, of the product, of the money, taken from the factory roof across the street. That little Irish kid, Tommy Ritchie, he was up there with a camera while we conducted business." "We should have checked the roofs," Carlos muttered. "Yes," Diego said. "You should have, but you didn't, and now we're here." He moved away from the bar, pacing. The backroom door stood closed, but he could see it in his mind, his office with the safe, the ledgers, the money, everything he'd built over 5 years. His empire. "How bad is it?" Rafa asked. Diego stopped pacing. "Bad. They have photographic evidence of a heroin transaction. They have Carmen's testimony about our operation. They have 5 witnesses willing to testify. Agent Carter, the Fed I talked to, he's not corrupt. He's not one of the cops we own. He's a true believer." "So we're finished," Tito said. "No." Diego's voice cracked like a whip. "We're not finished. Not even close." He pulled out a chair and sat down, gesturing for the others to do the same. They gathered around the card table, and Diego leaned forward, his hands flat on the scarred wood surface. "Listen to me carefully," he said. "The feds have evidence, but they don't have a case yet, not a prosecutable one. Those photographs were taken without a warrant. The kids trespassed on private property. Any lawyer worth his fee will get them thrown out." "What about Carmen?" Carlos asked. "Her testimony. She's 17. 18, Carlos corrected quietly. "She turned 18 2 months ago, boss." Diego's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. 18. Fine. She's 18, but she's still my sister. Our lawyers will argue she was coerced, manipulated by these boys. We'll paint her as a victim. "The feds won't buy that," Flaco said. "The feds don't matter," Diego said. "What matters is time. Right now those 5 kids are in a safe house somewhere. Federal agents are debriefing them, taking statements, building their case. That takes time. Days, maybe weeks. They need warrants. They need to coordinate with prosecutors. They need to build something that will hold up in court." "And while they're doing that?" Tito asked. Diego smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "While they're doing that, we move. Fast. We clean house. Every piece of evidence they might find. Gone. Every witness they might flip. Silenced or scared. Every dollar we have liquid. Moved offshore. We act like the building is on fire, because it is." He pulled a small notebook from his jacket pocket and opened it. Inside were names, addresses, phone numbers. His entire operation mapped out in cramped handwriting. "Carlos, you take the money. Every safe house, every stash spot, every location where we keep cash. You empty them. Today, right now, you have 12 hours. Get it all to the counting room on Hunts Point, then we'll move it to the offshore accounts." Carlos nodded. "How much are we talking?" "Everything. 200,000, give or take. It all moves today." "Tito, Rafa, you handle the product. Every ounce of heroin we have in the Bronx gets moved out. I don't care if you have to drive it to Jersey or Connecticut or fucking Pennsylvania. It leaves our territory by midnight. Understand?" "Where do we take it?" Rafa asked. "Vega's people in Newark. Call them. Tell them we need to store product temporarily. They owe us after last night's disaster." "What if they don't want to help?" Diego's eyes went cold. "Then you convince them. I don't care how." Flaco cleared his throat. "What about the witnesses, boss? The kids?" This was the question Diego had been waiting for. The question that mattered most. "We can't touch them," he said. "Not directly. They're in federal custody. Going after them now would be suicide. It would prove everything they're saying about us." "So, we do nothing?" Tito's voice was incredulous. "I said we can't touch them directly," Diego repeated. "I didn't say we do nothing." He flipped to a new page in his notebook. "Miguel Rodriguez. His mother works at the garment factory on 163rd. His 2 little brothers go to PS 73. Marcus Williams. His mother cleans offices at Columbia University, night shift. Raymond Tucker, his grandmother works at Lincoln Hospital. Tommy Ritchie. His father drinks at Murphy's Tavern every night. The room went silent. Everyone understood what Diego was implying. We don't touch the kids, Diego said. But their families? Their families are in the neighborhood, under our protection. And if that protection were to fail... Carlos shifted uncomfortably. Boss, going after families? I'm not going after anyone, Diego said sharply. I'm simply pointing out reality. These families live in our territory. Anything could happen. A robbery, a fire, an accident. The Bronx is a dangerous place. The feds will know it's us, Flaco said. Knowing and proving are different things. And besides, Diego leaned back in his chair. We won't have to do anything. Just the threat is enough. Word gets to those kids that their families are vulnerable, that mama and grandma and little brothers are walking around without protection. They'll think twice about testifying. What about Carmen's mother? Tito asked quietly. Your mother? Diego's expression hardened. My mother is family. Nobody touches her. But Carmen made her choice. She chose those boys over her blood. She chose the feds over her family. When this is over, when we've survived this, she's dead to me. She doesn't exist. The words hung in the air. Carlos looked down at the table. Even Flaco, who'd been with Diego since the beginning, couldn't meet his eyes. Any questions? Diego asked. Rafa raised his hand slightly. What if they get a warrant? What if they come for you before we can move everything? Then they come for me, Diego said. But they won't find anything. No drugs, no money, no evidence. Just a social club where men play dominoes and drink beer. My lawyers will have me out in 48 hours. And if they don't, Diego smiled again, that cold, empty smile. Then you keep the operation running until I get back. But they will, because their case is weak, and my lawyers are expensive. He stood up and the others rose with him. We have 12 hours before the feds get their warrants together. 12 hours to make this operation invisible. Every one of you knows what to do. So go do it. Move fast, move smart, and don't leave any traces. The crew filed toward the door. Carlos unlocked it, and sunlight streamed into the dim room. One by one, they left. Tito and Rafa heading to the stash houses, Flaco to coordinate the corner boys, Carlos to start emptying the safes. Diego remained behind, alone in the social club. He poured himself another whiskey and walked to the window, peering through a gap in the newspaper covering. Outside, Prospect Avenue looked normal. Bodega customers buying cigarettes and lottery tickets. Kids playing stickball in the street. Old men sitting on stoops watching the world go by. His neighborhood. His territory. His empire. And 5 teenagers thought they could destroy it with 7 photographs and some testimony. Diego drank his whiskey slowly, savoring the burn. They didn't understand what they were up against. They thought federal protection meant safety. They thought justice would prevail. They were children playing a grown man's game. He thought about Miguel Rodriguez, that quiet kid who'd fallen in love with Carmen, who'd been so easy to manipulate, so desperate for permission to see the girl he loved. Diego had owned him completely, had controlled every aspect of his life with nothing but the promise of Carmen's company, and Miguel had betrayed him, had helped Carmen escape, had taken those photographs to the feds. That betrayal stung worse than the others. Diego had given Miguel everything, a job, money, access to Carmen. He treated him almost like family, and Miguel had repaid him with treachery. Then there was Marcus Williams, the smart one, the one with the Columbia scholarship and the bright future. Diego had watched him for months, had seen his potential, had considered recruiting him. Marcus could have been an asset, smart, disciplined, ambitious. Instead, Marcus had organized this rebellion, had convinced the others to risk everything, had led them to Federal Plaza. Diego would remember that. He finished his whiskey and set the glass down. The clock on the wall read 11:23 a.m. In 12 hours, by midnight, his operation would be invisible. No evidence, no product, no money trail, just a social club and some rumors. And after that, after the feds came with their warrants and found nothing, after that, Diego would rebuild. Smarter, more careful, more protected. He'd survived worse than this. He'd survived his father's death, survived rival gangs, survived police raids and informants and betrayals. He'd survived 5 teenagers with cameras. But they wouldn't survive him, not in the long run. Federal protection didn't last forever. Witness protection could be circumvented. People got sloppy, made mistakes, let their guard down. Diego was patient. He could wait. He walked to the back room and unlocked his office. The safe stood against the far wall, 3 feet tall, combination lock gleaming. Inside was $40,000 in cash, his personal reserve. Carlos would empty the other locations, but this money was Diego's alone. He spun the combination, his father's birthday, his mother's birthday, Carmen's birthday. The tumblers clicked into place. He pulled the heavy door open. The money sat in neat stacks bound with rubber bands. 20s, 50s, hundreds. 5 years of work, 5 years of risk, 5 years of building an empire from nothing. Diego stared at it for a long moment. Then he began removing the stacks, placing them in a leather duffel bag he kept in the closet. The money would go to the counting room, then to the offshore accounts. Untraceable, protected. His phone rang, the private line he kept in the office. Only a handful of people had the number. He picked up. Yeah. Mr. Santos? The voice was smooth, professional. His lawyer, Robert Kaplan. I just received a very interesting phone call from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Diego's grip on the phone tightened. And? They're preparing warrant applications. Your name is mentioned. They're moving fast. How fast? Could be as early as tonight. Definitely by tomorrow morning. They're claiming exigent circumstances, flight risk, evidence destruction. Can you slow them down? I can try. I've already filed a motion challenging the admissibility of the photographs. But Diego, Kaplan paused. This is serious. They have witness testimony. They have photographic evidence. If they get those warrants, they won't find anything, Diego said. By tonight, there won't be anything to find. That's probably wise. But you should also consider, I'm not running, Diego interrupted. I'm not fleeing the country or hiding. I'm staying right here in the Bronx. When they come with their warrants, I'll be at my mother's house eating dinner. And they won't find a goddamn thing, Kaplan sighed. All right, I'll do what I can, but Diego, be smart. Don't do anything that makes this worse. I'm always smart, Diego said and hung up. He continued packing the money. The duffel bag grew heavy, bulging with cash. When the safe was empty, he closed it and spun the lock. Then he carried the bag to the front room. Carlos was waiting by the door. Ready, boss? Ready. Let's move. They walked out into the afternoon sunlight. The Lincoln was parked at the curb, Flaco behind the wheel. Diego climbed into the back with the duffel bag, Carlos in the passenger seat. Hunt's Point, Diego said. The counting room. As the Lincoln pulled away from the curb, Diego looked back at the social club. His headquarters. His command center. After tonight, he might never come back here. The feds would raid it, tear it apart looking for evidence they wouldn't find. Let them waste their time and resources. Let them think they'd won. Diego Santos had survived worse. He'd survived poverty and violence and his father's murder. He'd built an empire from nothing, had controlled 6 blocks of the South Bronx through fear and respect and careful calculation. 5 teenagers weren't going to destroy that. Not with photographs, not with testimony, not with federal protection. They'd started a war they couldn't win. And Diego's desire for vengeance, burning cold and patient in his chest, would be his greatest weapon, or his downfall. Time would tell which.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.